Peace in Jesus' mighty name. Again, thank you for watching the Bible Plain View. We're here to help you understand your Bible just a little bit better than you already do. So, my name is Brother Justin. My reader is Brother Keith. In today's class, in the last segment, is called the True Church of God, which is Israel. Again, Brother Cephas did a good job on explaining the Israelites, that they are a black people, and Brother Anthony did a good job as well in regards to the curses, how you identify who Israel is. Both of these components are important. Why? Because you have to establish who the true church of Christ is, which I already said is Israel. So we're going to start this in Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. When you got it, you go ahead.
I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh.
So we have Paul talking here. He's saying, so it's bearing heavy on his spirit. And he's wishing here that for I wish that myself were accursed from Christ. So in other words, I would take this curse for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. Who's he talking about? Verse 4.
Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises.
So you have this particular people, the Israelites, which are a black people scattered into worldwide captivity. It says God gave these people the adoption, so he adopted them as a nation of people. He said the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the services of God and the promises. So let's go to Exodus 1 and start getting an understanding of what God gave these people. So we're in Exodus 1, and up to this point, Joseph, which was one of Jacob's sons, he was already in Egypt because his brothers sold him. So he went down there, he became a governor over the nation, and eventually he brought his family down there, and they migrated down to Egypt. So we're in Exodus chapter 1. When you got it, go ahead and prophesy, brother.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah.
Go ahead.
Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that come out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
So here we have 12 names that represent the 12 tribes of Israel, correct? So it lets you know that the people who are calling themselves Jews today, they're off already. For one, they don't meet the curses. Number two, they don't meet the color requirement. And three, there are 12 tribes. They pick one. Where are the 11? That makes sense, right? And then he says here, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. So when it came down to Egypt, there was only 70 individuals. What happens next? Verse 6.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them.
So remember, they started off with 70 people in Egypt, right? And they started to grow and multiply. Each children have these 12 sons, even so much to the point where Egypt saw them as a threat to national security. They had to get them Hebrew boys out of the picture. So let's go to Exodus chapter 20 now. I'm sorry, Exodus 19. Because the first, I think 30 years it was peace in Egypt. And then once they started to grow, Pharaoh saw them as a threat to national security, so he had to put a plan in place. It's at this point where God delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt, right? So Exodus 19, and you pick it up at verse 3. When you got it, go ahead.
And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel.
So he's coming out of the Lord's mouth. Go ahead.
Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself.
And it was a great delivery. The Lord parted the Red Sea. He put plagues on Egypt. And for the most part, he killed the Egyptians. Go ahead.
Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people.
So if you keep the covenant, you are going to be a peculiar treasure among all people. Peculiar in this sense, positive. Meaning, well, people are going to look at you and see the wisdom that excludes from you, right? Keep going.
For all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
So for the kingdom for Israel's, right? You're supposed to be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, which means you have the law, statutes, and commandments. You learn them for yourself, and then you were to go out and teach others. And when people look at you, they see wisdom, they see excellence, they see that God is with you. But like I said in verse 25, a peculiar treasure. Now these days we are peculiar, but not in a good way. And like I think Brother Anthony was saying, man, people look at us, shake their head, move across. Matter of fact, Israelites look at Israelites and shake their head and trying to figure out what is going on. We are peculiar. Pick it up at verse 7.
And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord has spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord.
So they were given these words, right? The commandments. They were read to them. They listened to them and said, okay, cool. The Lord said we do this. We'll do that. And Moses took that answer back to the Lord. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. Because this covenant was based off something. So Exodus chapter 20 and verse 1. When you got it, go ahead.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Who spoke these words?
Lord.
The Lord did. So it's not the Mosaic law. God gave these to Moses to give to the people. I'm sorry, the Lord is saying this, and they're listening. Go ahead.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath,
Go ahead.
or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
So what are we getting here? The first piece of the Ten Commandments. And it's teaching us how to deal with God as a God. And it says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Common sense, you would think, right? After what they just saw, that whole deliverance. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. And this is a major problem today, whether it be crosses, pictures of angels, pictures of Christ, white, black, so on and so forth. Not supposed to have it. Keep going.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So notice, these are called commandments, not suggestions, things you want to do when you feel like it. Commandments. And like Brother Brother Anthony said, is due to disobedience of these commandments, while the black man is in worldwide captivity to this day. Keep going.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
All right, so like I said, you have laws here how to deal with God, and you have laws how to deal with your neighbor. let's go to Exodus 24. Because the giving of these laws, they're going to establish a covenant that was made way back in the wilderness that still stands to this day. So Exodus 24. And you pick it up at verse 1. When you got it, go ahead and read it.
And he said unto Moses, Come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, and Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice, and said, All the words which the Lord had said will we do.
So they got the laws and judgments read to them, right, in their entirety. And they said, all right, cool. So all that the Lord said, we will do. Keep going.
And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel.
So the altar was built, and 12 pillars that represent what? The 12 tribes of Israel. Keep going.
And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in basins, and half of the blood, and sprinkled it, and he sprinkled on the altar.
So what do we mean by here? The Israelites, or the children of Israel, they're about to go into a blood in, blood out covenant with the Lord, all right? And once you do this, you already said that all the Lord said we will do, you're stuck in it. Keep going.
And he took the book of the covenant, and read in the audience of the people. And they said, All that the Lord has said we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words.
So they sacrificed the animals. Moses took the blood. He spread it on the people. And like I said, this is what the covenant established. The church was here. All right, let's get some more on this. Let's go to Romans 11. And we're going to transition to class here, because if you ask a lot of people out today, they'll say that Israel is no more. They're not important. But it's hard to say that when you read the Bible, because from Genesis to Revelation, Israel, the importance of, you can't escape it. So Romans chapter 11, because Paul says something here in regards to Israel. In the previous chapter, he says that, our people have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. So Romans 11, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. When you got it, you go ahead.
I say then, had God cast away his people? God forbid.
So, did God cast away his people? Did he choose somebody else? Is he done with Israel? God forbid. No, he's not. Go ahead.
For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew.
All right, so we have Paul here. He's saying, look, God didn't cast away his people. I myself am an Israelite, for the seed of Abraham, from the tribe of Benjamin. And they tell us that Paul was already zealous. So you can imagine how probable when he said this. But again, and he said, verse 2, God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Keep going.
What ye not what the scripture saith of Isaiah, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets, and digged down thy altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
See down to verse 5.
Even so then, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
So there's a remnant according to the election of grace, or a small bit of Israel left over. Why so? Because this gospel has to be preached to all the world. Matter of fact, the diaspora, or the dispersion of Israel, that's probably the only benefit of it, that everyone now has a chance to receive the gospel. Matter of fact, let's go to Matthew real quick. Because Paul says here he's an Israelite, and the commission was to go forth and preach the gospel into all nations. We're going to read that real quick. All right. So Matthew 28, and pick up at verse 18. When you got it, go ahead and prophesy.
And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world.
So again, the Lord gave that commandment to go out and teach this gospel to all nations. All right? And one thing, like I already said, we're already in the diaspora, scattered all across the earth. God's waking us up now, so we're in better position to preach the gospel worldwide. Let's go back to Romans 11. And we'll pick it up verse 5 again. You go ahead.
Even so then, at this present time also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
So again, we have a small set of Israel to preach the gospel. Skip down to verse 11.
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall?
So did Israel messed up so bad that God just said, I'm done with y'all? No, not at all. Keep reading.
God forbid. But rather, through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
So you can call that like a catch-22 in a sense. Israel failed, they dropped the ball, they missed the dunk, however you want to play it. And because of that, salvation was opened up to all nations. Keep going. Verse 12.
Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you, Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office.
Go ahead.
If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be, but life from the dead?
So look at the condition of Israel, right? We're waking up, the gospel starting to get out here, and people starting to benefit from it. So just imagine Israel in this full glory, per se. Like, what's really going to start happening in regards to everybody starting to seek this gospel, starting to get saved, it being taught in the correct capacity. Let me see, read on that.
18, 17. 18.
All right, read verse 17. Verse 16, excuse me.
For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
So in other words, Israel is that natural branch. The Gentiles have an opportunity to come in, but in a sense, don't dare talk against Israel, right? Like, it's through their fall that you had a chance to come in, but they're still here, they're still around, they're still relevant. So don't get outside yourself. Let's go to Psalms 147. Because during the so-called Black History Month, the purpose of it is to get back to where you started, your origin. And we don't do that. It's kind of redundant in a sense to where we just learn about basically the same people, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, so on and so forth, not to downgrade anything they did, but at the end of the day, what are we learning? Matter of fact, we still think we're African American. We still think, rocking dashikis and all that. Like, that's not what it's about. Where are we from? How do we get back there? Why are we in this condition that we're in? So Psalms 147 and verse 19. Let me get there real quick. When you got it, you go ahead.
He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He has not dealt so with any nation. And as far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
So verse 19 says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. God manifested himself to one particular people. When did he do that? After he led Israel out of Egypt with fury poured out and outstretched hand, he came down personally and gave them laws, statutes, and commandments. And verse 20 says, he hath not dealt so with any nation. There is no recorded history in the scriptures or history whatsoever that God doing so. It says, as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise you the Lord. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3. So Jeremiah chapter 3. And we're going to find out. So what was the big thing Israel did back then and they're still doing? Dealing with other gods, falsehood. We have a love for it. And it's hard to break it. Matter of fact, we don't want to break it. So Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 1, when you got it, you go ahead.
They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again?
And that's in the law. So if you divorce your wife, so on and so forth, she gets another husband, you can't take her back. You're not allowed. Go ahead.
Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers. Yet return again to me, save the Lord.
So the Lord is saying, like, look, even though you out here dealing with falsehood, you're dealing with other gods, you're doing everything contrary to the book, come back to me. All right, return. Verse 2.
Lift up thine eyes unto the high places, and see where thou hast not been lying with. In the ways hast thou sat from them, as the Arabian in the wilderness. And thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness.
We're talking about Jerusalem here, the Holy Land, and Israel has polluted the land with their wickedness. Like I said, committing adultery, fornication, worshiping other gods, doing everything contrary to what God says. Keep reading.
Therefore the showers have been withholden, and there have been no latter rain. And thou hast a whore's forehead, thou refusest to be ashamed.
And I talked about in the last segment, like Israel has a whore's forehead. They enjoy being hoochies in a sense, being whores. All right. Verse 4.
Wilt thou not from this time cry unto me, my Father, thou art the God of my mouth?
My youth.
My youth.
And just to go back to verse 3, just really think about and look what Israel is really involved in. We're involved in so many other cultures and things of other nations. We out there going hard for Cinco de Mayo. Got nothing to do with us. Dealing with Hinduism. Got nothing to do with us. Buddha, nothing to do with us. Going hard for the Islamic faith. Nothing to do with us. And like I said, from a cultural perspective, Halloween, that's dealing with like Celtic Gentile nations, and we go the hardest. In fact, we go harder than the people who originated the holiday in the first place. And that's a shame. Keep reading.
Will he reserve his anger forever? Will he keep it to the end? Behold, thou hast spoken and done evil things as thou couldest.
So saying here is like, is God going to be mad at us forever? Is he going to hold, I don't want to say a grudge, but is it going to be an everlasting thing? Not so much. Keep going.
I think that's
Verse 6.
okay. The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel have done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there have played the harlot. And I said after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it.
So Israel's out here playing the harlot with everybody, right? Remember, we're God's church, and we're dealing with everybody but God. And the crazy thing is, it says here, and I said, after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me. But she returned not, after her treacherous sister Judah saw it. So this the tribes have been splitting at this point, right? And then let me see. I think it's so Israel. They went to captivity first because they went off the charts. Started doing what God told them not to do. They got sent into captivity. So not only did Judah have an example, they messed around and followed it and did the same exact thing. It's kind of like kids. So I think back in, if a child was disobedient, you would stone that child. Us being like other children, like so, let's say this that child that got stoned, he was smacking his mom around, whatever. I bet you $9 that the other children ain't gonna be thinking about it no more. They had an example and they still blew the mission. Verse 8.
And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away, and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. And it came to pass through the likeness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks.
So dealing with other guys, I think in the same chat it talks about the Queen of Heaven, or Diana, depending on where you are, false God, excuse me. Go ahead.
And yet for all this her treacherous sister Judah have not turned unto me with her whole heart, but feignedly, saith the Lord. And the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, return thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord. And I will not cause my anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, saith the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever.
That's a true statement. The Lord is merciful, because we've been doing this since forever, right? Dealing in falsehood, and it's only through the Lord's mercy that we're still here. Just think about what goes on a regular basis, every second, minute, hour, whatever. Israel's getting shot down, getting put in jail, falsely accused, so on and so forth, and we're still here, still striving, still surviving. That's not anything we're doing, that's the Lord, right? And it says here, verse 12, go and proclaim these words for the north, and say, return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. So what are we to do? Return to the Lord. So much for that, come as you are, you got to turn back to the Lord and do what you need to do. Verse 13.
Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, save the Lord.
So the Lord's saying here, what you got to do first, acknowledge your iniquity. You just can't be like, oh, I ain't doing anything, I'm going to go back to God. No, own what you did, do what's necessary. Keep going.
Turn, O backsliding children, save the Lord, for I am married unto you.
Hold on, say it again.
Turn, O backsliding children, save the Lord, for I am married unto you.
So the Lord says, I am married unto you. To who? The church, the children of Israel. This is the true church. It's not the Roman Catholic Church, the Islamic faith, none of that. One particular people, God's church. Keep going.
And I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
So the Lord's saying he's going to bring us back to Zion, right? His church. But the key thing here in verse 15, he's saying, and I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. That is not happening today. You have so many false pastors that God warned you about in several different places, and they're not feeding the people. And this is ultimately helping cause this derision in the church. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 54. So Isaiah 54, you figure out verse 4. When you got it, you go ahead and read.
Fear not, for thou shalt be ashamed, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame. For thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood any more. For thy Maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called.
So we're still dealing with Israel here, right? And he says, the Maker, for thy Maker is thine husband. Again, Christ is married to this particular church, the nation of Israel. Keep reading.
For the Lord have called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and the wife of youth, when thou was refused, save thy God. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee.
So the Lord, he turned away from us for a little bit, right? But said it's not going to be forever. And he says, with great mercies will I gather thee. Keep going.
In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment. But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, save the Lord thy Redeemer.
So in the Lord's wrath, he hid his face for us shortly. To us, it might seem like a long time, but to the Lord, not so much. But he's saying here, but with my everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. Keep going.
For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee.
So he's making a comparison here. He's saying, so in the same way I flooded the earth in the days of Noah, man, it's nothing to me. Similar to where, should I no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. Keep going.
For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed. But my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, save the Lord that have mercy on thee.
Mm-hmm.
O thou afflicted, tossed with tempters, and not comforted. Behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires.
Mm-hmm.
And I will make thy windows of gates, and thy gates of carbuncles,
yeah.
and all thy borders of pleasant stones. And all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be peace of thy children.
All right, so it's saying that all the children shall be taught of the Lord. So we're finally going to have some direction going on. Keep going.
In righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake.
So look at the importance of Israel here. God's saying, like, look, even though y'all pissed me off for a certain amount of time, I'm still coming back for you. All right, I ain't hiding my face from you. Let's go to Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23, because again, we touched on it a few scriptures up. False pastors have their part in aiding and destroying this church. I'm talking about the church of God, not a physical church. So Jeremiah 23, verse 1. When you got it, go ahead.
Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord, God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people, ye have scattered my flock, and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith the Lord.
So think about, like way back in the Old Testament, like people who are teaching the nation of Israel wrong. Think about, I can't think of an example right now, but leadership has always been a problem. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, like somebody would die off, and as soon as they die off, we go astray. Moses, for example, went up to the mount 40 days and 40 nights. As soon as he was gone, they lost their mind. Built a golden calf. We are like sheep, but we don't have a good shepherd whatsoever for the most case. But it says, woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. And we love some nonsense. Look at little Creflo saying we ain't got, the devil wants you to keep the law. T.D. Jakes make you feel like you can do anything with his motivational speeches. You got Benny Hinn smacking people with jackets like nunchucks, like, and people love this stuff. But at the end of the day, like, what's going on? The church is scattered because I said, due to bad leadership. Keep reading.
And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase.
So Lord said, I'm going to gather my flock. I'm going to get my people from this worldwide diaspora. I'm going to bring them back to the land. Keep going.
And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed. Neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord.
So now you're going to have the pastors you need, the teachers you need, to help you get understanding of the word. Things are finally going to be put back in order. Let's go to Joel chapter 3. Because like I said, you cannot escape the importance of Israel throughout this Bible. It's all over the place, as in being the Lord's church. And Jeremiah told us that he's married to this people. So Joel chapter 3, and we're going to find out. So all the things that have been done to Israel, like the Lord he's pissed about it. And he's definitely coming to correct it. So Joel chapter 3, and pick up at verse 1. When you got it, you go ahead.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem,
So he's going to end this worldwide captivity upon his return. Go ahead.
I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
So God's upset at first you parted his land. Like you took the holy land, you made it just like an abominable place to be. But more and so forth, like his heritage, his children Israel. And he's saying here that I will plead for them for my people, my heritage Israel. What other of these false gods you know are going to go to war for their people? Not one of them. Only God's going to do that. Verse 3.
And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
So basically, we look at it as 3/5 of a man. That's how they justified slavery and all that was done. So they take a boy, sell him for a harlot, give a girl for a drink, like we're nothing to them. Keep going.
Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
So not only are you, so the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians that you might remove them far from their border. So when Rome ransacked Jerusalem, you have Israelites. They fled into the interior of Africa to escape what was going on. And then basically you have other African nations that sold them to the Europeans. And they're saying the Lord is pissed about that. Keep going.
And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken it. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down.
Well, let's get on that. So to sit here and say the church of Israel is not important, the nation of Israel is not important, you have God coming back to make war for his people. So you can't deny the importance. Let's go to Revelations 21. Revelation 21, we're in the last book of the Bible, and you're still going to see that Israel, the church, is important. So Revelation 21, let's pick it up at verse 1. When you got it, you go ahead.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
So we have New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, right? Keep on. Skip down to verse 9. You go ahead.
And there came unto me one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem,
So we have the Lamb's wife, the Church of Christ, coming down from heaven, right? It says, and he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me that great city, that holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven. So we have this great city, the city of the great king, right? Something's going to be written on something in this kingdom. Keep going.
Verse 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal,
Mm-hmm.
and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates,
Mm-hmm.
and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
So, and a wall, and I had a great wall and high, and 12 gates, and the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of who? The 12 tribes of the children of Israel. All right, so this is showing you the importance of the church. You have to go through Israel one way or another, now or when the kingdom comes. So with that being said, Israel, the true church of God, I pray someone got some understanding in Jesus' name. Peace.